Hello, BookTube. I have another tag for you. I've been working my way through my tags because it seems like a natural time to do it. We're all stuck at home. we're all staring at our book collections all day long, and that's what is the fun of tags for me. Is that a tag sends you not only to your current shelves, but to all the books that you've read in the past to answer these questions. And I've seen a bunch of tags that I've really liked, whether I've been tagged in them or not. I've noticed a kind of a split attitude on BookTube. Some people are still overwrought by this international pandemic that we're all experiencing together. Some people are overwrought and don't really want anybody to reach out and tag them. And then there are a bunch of other people who are grappling to tags closer than ever because it's just such a fun way to be interactive with each other. It's such a staple of BookTube. So I am a little bit reluctant to tag people, specifically tag people. The tags I've been doing, I've been mostly laying them open to the Sean the Book Maniac came up last year with an idea that I thought was really good, which is that we really ought to get away from specifically tagging people, although I myself like to be specifically tagged. We really ought to say, if I don't specifically tag you, you're still tagged anyway if you want to do this. And I think I'll stick with that for a little bit, although maybe I'll start tagging people individually this week anyway, or next week. But I have a tag. I have a bunch of them to do. And the one today is the Stay Home book tag, which refers to the fact that the primary weapon that we have against this pandemic, until there is a treatment, until there is a vaccine, those things will come. This will not tyrannize our lives forever. But until you have a stopgap, a backstop, where if you get this virus and you are one of the minuscule fraction of people that it affects so badly that you're in danger of losing your life or you need to go to the hospital, there will come a day, and it won't be that far off, relatively speaking, when there will be a treatment. When it will not be a roll of the dice for you to go to the hospital. It'll be a thing for you to get. Ideally, down the line in 2021, 2022, there'll be a vaccination that you can get at your local pharmacy routinely, the way you do your flu vaccinations every year. Until that point, though, until that point happens, the best defense that we have, and I think it's amazing that societies all over the world have learned this in what I consider to be record time. It's actually a very optimistic, positive thing in the midst of all of this negativity, is the one surefire method that we have to slow the progress and protect each other is to become human fire breaks for this thing. If we are no longer circulating in the population of our fellow humans, we are not giving this thing a chance to circulate, either from us to other people or from other people to us. Hence self-isolation, hence quarantine, hence stay at home. Stay at home. We are not a species built for that. We are a species that is extremely gregarious, that refuels itself with interaction with other people, even strangers. And most of us live in countries that aren't designed for that either. Despite how easy it's been for a lot of people to shift to working from home, nevertheless, this is a strain, no doubt about it, but nevertheless, it works. You can see that it works. The countries who have religiously done this are experiencing drastic drop-offs in opportunistic infection. So that is what this whole thing means. That is what stay at home means, is you're staying at home. We're all staying at home, regardless of whether or not we ourselves feel sick. We're staying at home in order to create a human fire break to stop this thing from spreading rampantly until we have the tools to treat it when it happens. It's very simple. You already know this. I saw this was created by Princess of Paperback, and I saw it on David Wardrop's channel. And it's just a bunch of prompts that center around staying at home, but that nevertheless call up books. And I'm curious about all of your answers to these. So we'll start with the first one, is laying in bed, because we're doing a lot of that. Now, with a lot of these, I feel just a tiny bit self-conscious because my day-to-day life, 96% of my day-to-day life, has not been changed by quarantine, by self-isolation, by the human fire break, by anything like that. I went out and about once in a while. By far, most of my experience with the outside world has been walking my dog, which is not an activity that is prescribed, provided you do it responsibly. You wear a face mask, go out into the wilderness where there are no people, that sort of thing. But the rest of it, I mostly work. I entirely work from home. I used to go to used bookstores once in a while, and I miss that, of course. And I have a feeling that as that goes on, as that missing goes on, I have a feeling that I'm going to have to start buying used books from Book Outlet and Book Depository and whatnot. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to start doing that regularly and just set aside a chunk of money, maybe a couple of $100 a month, regularly to do that, because I'm missing a steady supply of older books coming into and going out of my life. The only problem I have is going out of the going out part. I want to be able to get rid of books as well. Otherwise, I'd be up to my eyeballs in them. So I need to look into that. I need to look into maybe starting an Amazon account. I've never tried selling anything to Amazon and getting these things out again. Although how I would do that with post offices being such a powerless place to go, I don't have any idea. But some kind of used books I'm going to want coming in here. But anyway, the first prompt, lying in bed, is something that I do anyway. I have a few spots where I conduct my entire life. Email, writing, reading, which is increasingly done on an iPad. It's increasingly done via ebooks, and cuddling with Frida. All that is done. I either have in this little book room, this little monk cell of a book room, I have the bed, my ancient pre-World War I iron bed that has a pile of pillows on it. I've also recently reopened the closet in this room. There's a deep closet in this room. I don't know if you can see it right there. And my plan is to, it's still very bare bones, but my plan is to create a pile, a cushiony pile there, maybe get a foam mattress that I can put right in there, put blankets and pillows in there, so that becomes another place to read, to sit and read in that closet. And also there's the little couch in the other room, which is great when the weather finally changes. It's mid-April, it's still freezing cold here in Boston. But sooner or later the weather will change, and then that corner is just heaven on earth. It'll be a danger to BookTube, actually, because when I'm in that corner, it is so beautiful with the smell of the lilacs and the cut grass and no street noises anymore. It's so beautiful that I often don't want to move to make videos. So I spend most of my time laying in bed. So this first prompt is apropos. Those of you who don't, my heart goes out to you. It really does. My heart goes out to the people who are used to being out and about, who like that, being out and about, and can't do it anymore. One particular library director that I know is feeling as restless as a caged animal. My heart goes out to people like that. But the first one here is laying in bed, a book you could or have read all day. And I'm starting out the gate with this tag by being a problem child, because I can read any book that way. Whether the book annoys me and I'm saying on every page, oh, come on, or whether the book thrills me and I'm happy and I'm learning, either way, it doesn't matter. The latest Trump book will have me annoyed right to my hair roots, but I'm still reading it on bed all day. I wouldn't dream of putting it away. Or the latest book where I'm learning something, like there was a book, Alien Oceans, that we saw on this channel about a scientist studying extremophile life in Earth's oceans, forms of life that live by geothermal vents where sunlight has never been a part of it. They are too deep in the ocean for any particulate matter falling from the surfaces where everything lives by sunlight. And these organisms have developed, they've evolved from bacteria and proto-one-celled organisms. They have evolved over millennia in an environment that is entirely alien. First of all, it's on hundreds of atmospheres of pressure per square inch. And second, the source of energy in this world is entirely geothermal. It's geothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean. The very most blackest bottom of the ocean, where nothing that we understand as life can live, and yet those areas of Earth are teeming with life. There's only barely becoming understood as we develop the technology to explore it. And this author in this book, Alien Oceans, naturally extrapolates that to other worlds, where I'm guessing. And so is every other scientist. Other scientists are guessing too, so don't let them fool you with optimistic projections. I'm guessing that planets like Earth, in the so-called Goldilocks of their star, where it's warm enough for liquid water to form on the surface, but it's not so warm that it boils off. There's no rampant greenhouse effect. There's an atmosphere and a magnetic field to protect the life forms on that planet from the sweep of deadly cosmic radiation, deadly radiation from their own sun, where, in addition to that, the solar system has never been swept by the radioactive detritus of a supernova in a nearby system. That has never happened in Earth's solar system. It happens all the time. It's random chance that it hasn't happened here. All the tumblers have fallen into place for Earth to be a paradise in terms of biological life. And I'm thinking that those tumblers don't fall into place very often. I'd be willing to bet that there might be Earth-like planets. Mars, Venus are Earth-like planets. But for the cornucopia of life on Earth, and also for the stability necessary for intelligent and then technological life to develop, I bet such worlds are rare. But life, living organisms, things like those extremophiles in the bases of Earth's oceans, those might proliferate. And one of the fascinating things about alien oceans is that they might be in this solar system. There are a handful of gigantic moons in this solar system that we know have subterranean liquid oceans, gigantic ones. Sometimes the liquid oceans on Europa, things and Enceladus, we know that those subterranean liquid oceans are H2O. They aren't even liquid nitrogen or anything like that. They are exactly the same as Earth's oceans, and they are protected from rampant radiation by a crust of ice, by a crust of soil or whatever. The alien oceans explores what are the chances that something could live there. What about a subterranean aquifer of water, of H2O, on Mars? Mars is an excellent candidate, not only because microbes can evolve, they can live and evolve in a subterranean aquifer, free, protected from the waves of merciless radiation that bombard the surface of Mars. Not only that, but in the course of the last 4 billion years, Mars and Earth have exchanged rocks many, many times between them. They're close enough so that their orbits eventually rain rocks from each other on each other. All it would take is a few Earth rocks over the course of billions of years. All it would take is a few Earth rocks that had very stubborn microbes on them that did not burn up in re-entry. And suddenly Mars is seeded with life. Over the course of billions of years, some of that life may have migrated below the surface, where there's water and no killer radiation. So the book is fantastic. A book like that is another example where I will be on the bed and I'm reading, but I'm reading all day. The point of this prompt, I could do that with virtually any book. I don't tend to lose interest in books. Prompt number 2 is snacking, because a lot of people do that when they read. I don't. It makes a mess. And if you have a dog, or many dogs, I've had my life, usually the reading that I've done on this same bed has been done with a crowd of beagles. And I don't know if any of you have ever had beagles, but a lot of you have had dogs. If you're snacking around a dog, they're going to be paying attention to you in a way that's hard to ignore. And also snacks get everywhere and they require a diversion of attention. When I'm reading, I'm pretty much only reading. I'm so absorbed in it that I wouldn't even remember to have a snack. But the prompt is a guilty pleasure book. I mentioned a dog. You probably want to see a dog. Right now I have only one dog. I do not have a crowd of beagles. I do not have a basset hound or a pointer. I have one little dog, one little miniature schnauzer. She's a handful, but only one. But if I snacked on this bed, oh my God, she'd never give me a minute's peace. But the prompt here is a guilty pleasure book. And yesterday I did a tag where I listed a whole bunch of guilty pleasure books. But the one I wanted to mention here is the Barsoom novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs. The Adventures of John Carter of Mars and Ulysses S. Paxton and a whole bunch of other characters on his fantasy world of Mars. A Mars that isn't anything like the Mars I just described. Edgar Rice Burroughs' Mars is very different. It's a world that he imagined Mars to be like 100 years ago. Shows how far we've come in astronomy since then. No one could imagine that now. If you wanted to do a Life on Mars novel now, it'd be very different. It wouldn't be scantily clad Martian maidens and the daring do of swordsmen. But the John Carter of Mars novels are the subject of Marsathon, a readathon that I'm doing with a bunch of other booktubers for the whole of 2020. We're going through all of the Barsoom novels one by one, and we're having live streams. We did a tentative pilot program live stream for the first time for Princess of Mars, the first book in the series, and it went fairly well. It actually worked. Mike at Pints and Paperbacks is the genius behind this whole event, and he's also the guy who got the live stream to work. And he seems fairly certain that we can do this every month. So later on in the month, we're going to have another live stream for the second Barsoom novel. Imagine that, a regular live stream. So that's the one that I'm going to use. The Barsoom novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs definitely count as a guilty pleasure. They are not anybody's idea of great literature. They are great fun, though. Then the next one is Netflix. Netflix, people have been watching the daylights out of Netflix because a lot of people haven't discovered what we all know, which is that Netflix is a very poor substitute for books. A lot of people don't know that, or have never tried it, or got a bad first impression about books, so they're never going to know. And they have scoured Netflix right to the bottom. And same thing with a lot of other subscription services, including Amazon Prime. And this one here is a series that you want to start. And the series that I have in mind is on Netflix and also in book form, and that's the Witcher books. I feel terrible that I have not read the Witcher books. I haven't read the Witcher books, and I haven't watched the series with Henry Cavill, and it feels like a major omission. I mean, I knew the book series was popular anyway, but for there to be a popular series on Netflix in addition to that just makes me experience FOMO even more. And also the Witcher trade paperbacks are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I'd want to read them first, and what am I supposed to do? There are no bookstores open. I will get to it. I will definitely fill that in 2020. That omission. Then the next one is Deep Clean, because a lot of people, you probably are in this situation, confronted with isolation, with quarantine, have taken to cleaning. That's one of the reasons that I went at this closet again. And a few other projects around here. I am not immune to it, where you're suddenly stuck at home and you realize that you have all the time in the world for all of those projects that you wanted to get to. And Deep Clean is a book that's been on your TBR for ages. Now, I'm a little bit of an exception here because I deal mostly in new releases. So I'm not the kind of reader or a booktuber who has just a gigantic collection of books, and there are a bunch of books, new and old, that are just randomly on there, and you've been staring at that copy of, I don't know, I have no idea, The Evening Star by Larry McMurtry forever, but you haven't got to it. So the books that tend to be on my TBR the longest, most of my books, as you noticed with my library tour last year, most of my books are books I've already read. Except for one bookcase, except for new releases, forthcoming books, review copies. And one of them that's been on there for a long time is Cross of Snow by Nicholas Besbanes, who did A Gentle Madness. He did a bunch of books, wonderful books, genial books on book collecting. And Cross of Snow is his forthcoming biography of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I've read every Longfellow biography. I also know every detail of Longfellow's life. And Cross of Snow has been on my TBR for a long time because it's so far in the future. I don't even know when it's coming out now. Publication dates are changing left, right, and center. But it's so far in the future that although it's a subject that interests me, I haven't actually picked it up to read it. So it counts as being on my TBR. All the books on that outside bookcase are on my TBR. Then the next one is Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is one of the few clear and clean beneficiaries of the pandemic because it was the game of the moment. It was the game that took off with quarantine more than any other. A video game, sort of an online game like Words with Friends or whatever that has taken off. I think all of those things are anathema. They are such wastes of time. You could be reading. That is reading time that you're wasting with these things. Just what is it? Sims? Just endlessly. That is such a waste of time. You could be reading. But Animal Crossing is big, and that's why this is on here. And it's a book you recently bought because of hype, and of course, there isn't one. I don't buy new books. I didn't buy new books when I was getting 10 books in the mail. I may have to change that a bit, but it hasn't happened yet. I still have plenty of new books to read, so there isn't. I haven't bought anything with hype for a long time. Then the next one is productivity, because I would like to think that a lot of us are being more productive. Maybe not initially. A few weeks ago, this was all a shock. The world changed overnight, or felt like it did, and that left a lot of people reeling in shock. I understand that. But we're all starting to get used to it now. We're realizing that a grocery store shopping might be a little more inconvenient, but it's not ending. That various sundries like toilet paper or sanitary wipes or face masks might have been incredibly rare, impossible to find a few weeks ago, but that is easing. And also the new reality of having the kids at home, the spouse at home, all the relatives at home. We were all playing musical chairs, basically, with where we were going and what we were doing and who we were living with and all of that. And then all of a sudden it stopped. The music stopped and we were all just had to take our seat where we are. And that took some getting used to and produced a little bit of shock. I understand that completely. And that was, I think, an excusable excuse a month ago. But now we're starting to adapt to this new reality of our world. A lot of us are. And we're starting to realize that this is an incredible opportunity. I mean, it's a tragic opportunity, but it's also an incredible opportunity to get things done, to be productive, to do things that maybe you've had on your list to do for a while. Take baby steps, start, and then incorporate them. Who knows when you'll get a chance like this again? And that's what this prompt is all about. I have been experiencing the exact same thing. Oh my God. I've been digging into tedious little storage and paperwork problems that I've just been pushing down the line. Now all of a sudden I can do that. I don't have any outdoor errands to do anymore except walking Frida. That's all. It's the only one. So productivity is a book you learnt from or that had an impact on you. And like I was mentioning with Alien Oceans, that I hope is a lot of books. I read a lot of nonfiction, a lot of it. And I like to learn from all of it. One of the ones that I'm studying now because I'm writing a review of it is a book called Active Measures by Thomas Rid, about disinformation campaigns, about what a disinformation campaign is, its history, yes, but also its nomenclature. What is it? How is a disinformation campaign different from simple lying or inaccuracies? And what's the matter, baby? What's the matter? You want to see your friends again? Ooh. What's the matter? Huh? Look at them all. They like you. They do. They think you're cute. You are cute. Cutest thing. You probably want to go out again, don't you? Look at those ears go up when I say the word out. You want to go for a walk, don't you? You do. Well, we can do that. I've got one more prompt to do. And she doesn't understand BookTube. She's a BookTube star. She doesn't understand BookTube. It's my little bean. I will be with you. I will be with you shortly. Don't you worry. She is the cutest thing. And she's such good company. She's just such good company. Let's see here. So for productivity, I mentioned Active Measures by Thomas Rid, but really it could be any book, especially nonfiction. I'm learning a lot. I love to learn when I read nonfiction, even a book on a subject that I know really, really well. Harold Holzer, someone we saw in my library book tour in biographies, written a couple of books on Abraham Lincoln that are just required reading. He's an incredible thinker and interpreter of Abraham Lincoln, and oft written about U.S. president, but often not well. Holzer does it fantastic. He's just an amazing writer. And his latest book is The Presidents versus the Press, which is an extrapolation. He did a book on Lincoln and the press that was critically well received. It was really popular for a little while, as popular as a book of history can be. And he has expanded that on that particular subject in a book called The Presidents versus the Press, about all presidents and their relationship with the press, all the way to the present day. And that is a subject that I know really well. I know a lot of these presidents backwards and forwards, and yet I learned a lot from that book. I just loved being in Holzer's company the whole time. So I would hope that I learn a lot and that books have an impact on me a lot. Like there's a new book on Edward Snowden. That's a subject I know really, really well. I have written about it a few times. I'm going to get a chance to write about it again. God knows when that book will actually be released. I'm going to have to double and triple check that before I write my review. But that's another example where the author has the field wide open to teach me things, provided they can do so. I'm not just going to sit there with my mouth open like a little chick in a nest. I know a lot about the subject. So if you're an author writing on a subject I know about and you want to teach me things, okay. But that, provided you have your ducks in a row, if you start saying things that I know aren't true or that I violently disagree with, well, that'll be a review of a different kind now, won't it? Then the next prompt is FaceTime, because a lot of us are learning electronic conferencing of all kinds. It's natural, and there are a whole bunch of different options that you have. I've been doing that myself. It was a tiny peripheral thing for me in 2019. And in 2020, it's becoming more and more essential, more and more thing I do every day. And I imagine I'll get very good at it over time. I'll have to. It's a necessity. We all are. And for FaceTime, it's a book that you were gifted, that you were given. And I don't have it with me here now, but I am working my way through it. It was somebody, one of you, very generously sent me 2 box sets of mass market paperbacks of John Jakes' The Kent Family Chronicles. Not just The Bastard, but the whole thing. The whole Kent Family Chronicles, like 10 books. And I am slowly working my way through that. A lot of them, aside from The Bastard, a lot of the Kent Family Chronicles I've read only once when they came out. So this is that was so generous of one of you, and so nice to go to a post office in the middle of all this. I'm hoping that nobody put themselves in any risk. That was great, and that was the thing that I was just given recently. And I'm having a blast revisiting it. And then the last one is self-care. What is one thing you've done recently to look after yourself? Because that's a thing that a lot of people aren't. A lot of people that I know, a lot of you who email me every day, are so caught up in caring for the people around you that you are sometimes at risk of not caring for yourself. And that's an important thing. You should not overlook that. It's exactly the same thing as the warning that you get when you take an airline flight, that if turbulence is encountered and those oxygen supplying face masks come down, secure your own mask first, or you're no good to anybody. It is not a mark of selfishness to do that. The stewardesses tell you that over and over again. Or I'm sorry, flight attendants tell you that over and over again. It's not a mark of selfishness. You do that first so that you can help others. Same thing here. Self-care is very important. Very important. If you're wearing thin, you're no good to anybody, and you're needed by other people. So make sure. It's not self-indulgence. Make sure you take care of yourself. And for me, the answer is obvious. It's dogs. It's time with my dog. It's a very simple thing for me. It's how I self-care anyway. I pretty much indulge myself. I don't. I work really hard. I try to provide really good value, as the BroTube YouTubers say, for all of my editors and for anybody who's corresponding with me, friends who might need my help, people who are working on manuscripts with me. I try to do that, but I'm not even wearing pants. I'm not very hard on myself. And when I need a total rejuvenation, all I have to do is turn off the human world, turn off English, turn off electronics, turn off it all, and just spend time in the world of the beautiful, bright, blissful present, the eternal present of a dog. That's all. It doesn't have to be my dog, but I have one right to hand, and she's wonderful company. She's not sick. She's not old. She's not fearful. She doesn't hear voices like a certain basset hound. She's just perfect, wonderful company. That's all I need. I can revive my batteries in no time at all by doing that. And then the bonus here is to name a book that's coming out soon. Don't know why this was tacked on, but I'm always happy to do it. And I listed a few. There's Hello Summer by Mary Kay Andrews, who has been dubbed in the press the Queen of Summer, because every summer she has a great summer beach book that comes out. No idea what we're going to do with the whole concept of beach books. What's going to happen to this summer? The vacation industry. That's billions of dollars. Who's going to vacation this summer? How are you going to be able to do that? And I don't know what's going to happen to Mary Kay Andrews' book. I've read Hello Summer. I thought it was fantastic, like all of her books. She knows exactly what she's doing. But I picture this thing in the bookshop windows of the bookstore on Martha's Vineyard. Is it going to be? Is anybody going to be there to see it? Are going to be bookstore clerks to sell it? I have no idea. Well, we'll watch and see. We'll learn it together. And then another one is The End of October by Lawrence Wright. This is a book I've mentioned on this channel before. Lawrence Wright, the author of The Looming Tower, which is nonfiction, wrote a novel. And he wrote it a year ago, and he worked on it, and he had it edited, and he sent it to his publisher, and they worked on a publication campaign, and they sent him back revised editions of it and whatnot. And then it was all finalized. It was put in their catalog to come out soon, and it's called The End of October, and it's about a worldwide pandemic. Uncanny. An uncanny bit of lucky timing. Or unlucky timing, however you want to put it. The book would be a runaway bestseller, because this is a well-respected author, and this is his extrapolation of what a worldwide plague would be like. And it comes out at a time when we can all compare it with the real world, with our daily existence. That never happens. But is it for sale? Are there bookstores? No bookstores are open. Will the book come out? I know. It's absolutely fascinating. The End of October. That is the kind of coincidence that happens once in a blue moon in the publishing world. Then also there's a new book that I have not got an ebook of. I really want it. It's by Max Brooks, the author of World War Z. And his new book is called Devolution. And it has at its heart Bigfoot, Sasquatch, a subject near and dear to my heart. I have not seen an electronic galley of this thing, and I really want to. So I need to beat the bushes and get somebody to send me a PDF of that. And then the last one is Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is book 2 of the Founders trilogy. Follows up Foundryside. Foundry Side is a book I got last year and or a year before that, and I praised it to you. It's science fiction, it's urban science fiction, it's urban fantasy. It's really good. It's a really good series, and I want the next book. This one, Shorefall. I just haven't got it yet. I haven't got an e-copy of it. I was never high on the list of getting print copies of science fiction and fantasy, but I always wanted to. And I don't know if there's an e-copy of this that I can request and get. I have no idea, but that's forthcoming. So those are my bonus. Those are my books that are coming out soon. I think they are. And all that's left for me to do is tag people. But like I said, I'm a little bit leery of doing that. So if you saw this tag and you liked it, you are not under any obligation to natter on for 30 minutes on a 6-prompt tag. You're not under any obligation to do that, but I'd love to hear your answers to these, and feel free, and when you're doing this tag, to fold in any kind of elaborations that you want on how you're dealing with staying at home, the stay-at-home book tag. So I'd love to hear all that. More details. The more details I hear about that, the better, because I can't invite all of you here to this room, and I can't go and find you either. So anyway, that is your tag for today. We'll be back with a tag tomorrow. I'll try to make tomorrow's tag a little shorter, but I will, no guarantees. And I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.